Welcome everybody, welcome to the show. Come on in. Peyton, another week, another recap, man. How you feeling today?
Oh, I'm feeling pretty good, man.
Good.
Ready to roll, ready to get into these topics.
Yes, sir. Like we do before every show, man, we got to make sure that we pour us a glass. So today we are drinking American Honey. American Honey is from the makers of Wild Turkey. Exceptionally smooth liquor blended with honey and bourbon whiskey. So let's go ahead and dive into this. Me and Peyton already had a preview, a sample of it. So we're not gonna act like this is anything new. Anything new.
At least we know it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you guys are on more of the smooth side of your alcohol drinking, you don't like it to give you that burn in your chest, this is right up your alley. So American Honey from the makers of Wild Turkey, man. And to another episode, man. Cheers, bro.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All right. So welcome into the Sportaholics podcast, guys. I'm your host, Russ. This is Peyton. Before we start, we just want to let you guys know there's a certain reason why we are here. One, not only are we fans of the sports in general, but two, we feel like we just want to be involved with the conversation. We feel like we have something important to provide. Me, as far as perspective, I was a college athlete. Peyton, he's an avid sports watcher. He doesn't miss a snap, doesn't miss a tip-off, so you can rely on him. I'm the host. He's the expert. Peyton, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, man.
Good.
Ready to get into these topics. We got some interesting ones this week.
Yes, sir. But before we do that, guys, be sure to go ahead and like, subscribe, comment. If you are not already, make sure you're following us on YouTube, following us on Instagram, and maybe we'll get the X going here and Facebook going at some point in time. But
that is the app I use the most. The
X?
Yeah,
so we know what you're doing on X. We know what you're doing on X, man.
I didn't think the same thing you looked at.
All right, so just jumping right into it, Peyton, man. So if you have not heard already, Jim Harbaugh was supposed to be the honorary captain of the Week 1 game at Michigan, at the Big House. But Michigan or Jim Harbaugh have changed their plans. Have you heard about that?
I did hear about it.
Yeah.
I don't have too many thoughts on it, but I guess they thought it would be a bad look, bad aesthetics, as they say, for him to go to the game. So.
Yeah. I do agree it's a bad look either way you put it. I don't know who planned this, who thought that Jim Harbaugh would be a great fit for them to come out on Week 1 after all the allegations, after everything that's been going down. By all means, why would they feel like he was important for this week? I mean, he has a lot of yolk on his face when it comes to athletics at Michigan. So, but I can see both sides of the coin. I can really see both sides of the coin. You know, when it comes to Jim Harbaugh, he's probably sitting in his office, got his feet up, smoking a cigar. I don't know what Jim Harbaugh does for his hobbies, but he's probably like, I'm cool. I don't need to be there. I'd rather focus on the Chargers. That's technically what he's saying, but
like we were saying before, man, history is history.
Yeah.
What happened, and even if the NCAA comes in, vacates some wins from Michigan's season last year, we're not going to remember the season any differently. You know, it is what it is.
I don't know. It's a very historic season for the Michigan fans, so by all means. But what I will say is, right now, I don't know if the fans are really pro Jim Harbaugh, if that makes sense. So him wanting to save face, he probably sitting in his office and like, after I bought them a championship since 1997, why would I go out there and potentially get booed inside of the stadium that I built, and so I'll sit here in my office and I'll relax.
Probably a good call by him.
Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely a good call by him. On top of that, I feel like Michigan probably gave him a call like, hey, look, I know you're probably excited to want to come back, but
maybe not the best time.
Yeah, you might want to sit this one out, brother. You might want to sit this one out, especially after you got the 4-year ban. So I'm going to just say this and I'm going to wrap it up right here, Peyton. I don't want to hear nothing about Jim Harbaugh and Michigan for the next 5 years, bro. I'm over it. I'm done. Hey,
You got my word. I won't bring it up.
Right. He did what he did.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, They got their championship. Does it have an asterisk on it?
It's better than not having a championship.
Right, right. So I'm assuming you're on the side of I'd rather have a championship with an asterisk instead of not having a championship at all.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Kind of like the bubble Lakers.
That counts.
Okay, good.
That counts.
Then we agree. Then I'm glad we're in a
But
corner.
they didn't cheat.
Oh, well, some people think there's an asterisk for the Lakers championship.
Hey, listen, the location was different, but by all means, I'd rather not have a championship. I'd rather go to the championship and lose the game instead of have a championship with an asterisk on it that says we potentially cheated to get here, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, but moving right on.
Yeah, moving
right on.
We got so many good topics today. It's hard to.
Speaking of head coaches.
Yeah.
I heard you call Matt Lefluer and asked him if he had a wide receiver one.
Oh, that wasn't me, bro.
That wasn't you?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, okay. I mean, I know you're a member of the media, so by all means. But Matt Lefluer has a message for you guys, and he says when asked about does he have a legit wide receiver one, it makes him sick. So sick he might vomit.
Yeah.
Not only did he say that, but he doubled down and said he has a bunch of wide receiver ones. How do you feel about him having a bunch of wide receiver ones?
You know, the guys are so young, we're not sure who's going to become that wide receiver one or if they have multiple wide receiver ones. But to answer the first part of your question, when it comes to needing a wide receiver one, we can look at the Chiefs from last year, and I'm going to throw that tight end position in there as well.
Okay.
You know, because I think between the two positions, as long as you've got one elite playmaker between those two positions, you can win at the highest level in the NFL. As far as the Packers go, I look at a guy like Christian Watson who can develop into that player. Obviously needs to build out his frame, needs to get a better release off the line of scrimmage, but he's got the size, he's got the movement skills. I've seen him win in contested catch situations. That's my opinion. He's still a young guy. We'll see where it goes, but...
Listen, man. To respond to what Matt Lefluer said, we have a bunch of wide receiver ones. That is a bold-faced lie. You don't have a bunch of wide receiver ones. Name one guy in the wide receiver core at Green Bay that can go to another team and be a wide receiver one. Please, I'll wait. I will wait.
I guess you're going to be waiting for a while.
Because there's nowhere that I can name. It won't be, let's just say, it won't be Minnesota. I'm trying to think about the worst teams. It won't be Chicago.
Yeah.
It won't
Let's
be,
just stay in their division. Detroit.
It definitely won't be Detroit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so no matter where you line these guys up, they won't be wide receiver ones. And I guess, do you technically need a wide receiver one, though, or can you do it by committee?
See, I think it's more important to have depth at the position across those two positions like I was mentioning, because we don't even have to go to the Kansas City Chiefs. We can go to the team they played against in the AFC Championship game. You know who their leading receiver was last year?
Who was that?
Rookie Zay Flowers. Does anybody consider him a wide receiver one at this point?
No.
He may very well develop into one of the best receivers in the league, but that's an example right there. How about the Buffalo Bills moving off of Stephon Diggs?
Right.
I don't see the Bills falling off the face of the planet.
Hey.
Nah.
I hope so.
Don't let your bias get in the way.
I hope so. Like my boy Kodak say, I hope so. Listen, I'm with you. I'm glad they got rid of Stephon Diggs. By all means, I hope that opens up doors for you know who.
Maybe a team with a wide receiver 1A and a wide receiver 1B, as you like to put it.
Exactly. So there's definitely some room.
I will say this, though, Russ. You can't be terrible at the wide receiver position either. I mean, going into last season, 3 teams that were ranked at the bottom of the league in terms of wide receiver corps, the Panthers, the Patriots, the Cardinals, you know, they finished at the bottom of the league. So if you looked at the preseason rankings, that kind of lines up with their record.
Yeah. So
you got to be viable there to answer the question. No, I don't think you need a bona fide wide receiver one to win at the highest level, just like we've seen with the Chiefs.
Right. So, and not only that, if you think about majority of the teams that Tom Brady has had, he hasn't had a legit wide receiver one. I mean, all of his wide receivers have been, unless you're counting Randy Moss as a wide receiver one, and I mean, I don't think anybody wouldn't, but he was on the back end of his career at that point. But what I'm saying is, people like a Amendola, Julia Edelman. Yeah, he did have Gronk, but I'm not including Gronk because Gronk played tight end.
Sure.
All right, you put your hand down in that dirt, you're not a wide receiver. You're clearly a tight end.
Yeah.
All right, so yes, you are a receiving option, but by all means, you're not defined as a tight end. So, I mean, you're not defined as a wide receiver. So, I will say all of his wide receivers were mediocre speed, average height, targets that he made work. And going back to some of the things that we talked about earlier, the teams that are winning don't necessarily have a bona fide wide receiver one. You know, so you look at the Chiefs from last year. Yeah, any team in general is going to have their man who gets the most targets. And the example that I use with you is the Miami Dolphins. Let's take the Miami Dolphins, for instance. You said 1A, 1B, and I like to call them the 1A and 1B because there is no legit wide receiver one. And not only that, by definition, there isn't on the roster, on the depth chart, there is no wide receiver one, wide receiver two, wide receiver. No, you have your X receiver, you got your Z receiver, you got your Y receiver. You got all of these letters and labels on the receiver position. Yeah. So by all means, there is no 1, 2, 3, 4.
So in short, we partially agree with Lefluer.
Right.
Now, you don't agree that he's got all those wide receiver ones on that roster, but we might throw up two in a sense in that we agree with the disagreement of the question.
I do agree that you don't need a wide receiver one, but I will say he doesn't have a bunch of wide receiver ones.
Don't sleep on Christian.
I'm not sleeping on anybody. I think they have an amazing group of talent in Green Bay, but like we just mentioned, you can't send them to any other team and expect them to be the stars.
At least not yet. I'll give you that.
Okay, not yet. So I'll take that. But speaking of, wide receivers, if there wasn't people that was actually delivering them the ball, they would be nothing. They would just be guys standing out there. So let's move on to our quarterbacks and the play that we saw last week in our preseason games. Now, off topic, how do you take preseason games? Like, do you take them serious? Or are you just watching because football hasn't been around for a while? What's your take on preseason?
I think you can take each game on a case-by-case basis, and you can contextualize the game, and you can have some takeaways. But for example, last preseason, Kenny Pickett looked like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. By season's end, he was traded. Yeah. So take it with a grain of salt. It is what it is. But I'd love to talk about Caleb Williams and that Bears debut. Okay. It was his first live action since November, obviously playing college football. Yep. So, I don't have a ton of takeaways from his preseason debut. Personally, we saw him make those nice throws on the run. He had the dump off to the running back, showing off the instincts for the position. Yeah. But, Russ, I want to ask you about this, man, because the Bears are the featured team on Hard Knocks, right? Right. So my question for you is, having cameras around people and seeing the way they behave and act, do you think people act differently? Like, do you think people are the same on camera than they are off camera? Because what I'm seeing from Caleb and his personality, all I'll say is this: I want to see what happens during the season when adversity hits. Yeah, so 100%. People are different when the cameras are rolling. 100%. Especially these NFL players or athletes, professional athletes, celebrities, they're going to be different when the camera is rolling. Shoot, I shoot video for a living, and I don't always deal with celebrities in that instance, but I have done several events, and I record people, and they're just out of their mind, right? And when I post the video, they're like, dude, I was not myself. Can you please remove me from that video? So by all means, I believe 100% these guys understand that they are the money. In order to keep the money coming in, by all means, they have to. They have to present themselves on camera a certain type of way. Now, here's even to double down on that. Sure. When the cameras are off during the off season, we notice that most of these players and most of these athletes are getting in trouble
Okay, you got speeding ticket here, DUI there, allegation here, allegation there. So by all means, like when they feel like the cameras are not rolling and the public eye is not on them, they feel like they have the ability to do whatever it is that they want. So by all means, like,
yeah,
of course they are different people when the cameras are on. But to your point, despite having all the cameras and the newness and the nuances of the NFL in his face, Caleb Williams is handling it correctly and doing it right where he needs to, right between the lines. So I am impressed with this guy. Yeah. You know what? Watching the game I was just like, man, this guy is moving the ball down the field. Yeah. When I saw him dump that ball off to DeAndre Swift.
Taking the hit at the same time.
Man, I was so impressed with that kid, man. And I'm like, and not only that, but it opened him up to run up the field for 42 yards. Yeah. So it wasn't just let me get it out. It was actually his playmaking ability, his IQ was there, his comfort in the pocket. And we seen flashes of USC Caleb Williams with his ability to escape the pocket. Like I was really taken back, and he got a couple points from me. He really did get a couple points from me.
Are you saying you're taking the over on the Bears now? We know that.
I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm not saying that.
All right.
I am not saying that.
Because I was about to say, we could create a dialogue where maybe you're a little more pro Bears, I'm a little more con Bears. I don't know.
I do feel like they're right in the middle of the pack type team.
Yeah.
But maybe they do surprise some people. Maybe they do win 9 games. What you say, the over-under is 8.5?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
tough division, but you never know.
Maybe they do win nine games. You know, we haven't really went in depth on the schedule. We don't know what the strength of the schedule is. Yeah. So I will say they have opportunity for improvement. And they have based off preseason, and you know, like we were just saying, you can take these games with a grain of salt. Sure. But by all means, like
there are still things you can take away.
Yeah, no I mean, his ability to stay in the pocket when necessary, his ability to escape the pocket when needed,
and then throw on the run.
So I mean, it was a good
showing.
Yeah, it was a good showing. He went 4 of 7 for like 92 yards or something like that. So I believe that was a great way for him to start and kind of hush the critics, and maybe I was one of them. I don't know.
Oh, I see.
You know, maybe I was, but right now he got a couple points and he's moving up the charts in my book.
There you go. Excited to see him play those real games. In a couple of weeks.
For sure. Anything else you took away from Caleb Williams?
Nothing else I took away, but I will say, in terms of escaping the pocket and making plays on the move. Love him as an arm talent. I think his athleticism is overstated to some degree.
Yep. Don't mind me. I'm going to just pour me a drink here. Go ahead.
You're good, man. I think if he tries to play hero ball, and we hit on this on the last episode, I mean, if he stays within the confines of the offense and, you know, gets the ball out quickly, I like his chances more so than relying on hero ball at the next level, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that if he does a good job of that, I can see a little more success for the Bears than maybe I was giving them credit for initially. Yeah. Okay.
So moving on from Caleb Williams, let's talk about his predecessor in Justin Fields. He had a struggle day versus the Texans.
Yeah. Up and down.
And I will say, I am still high on Justin Fields. Maybe I'm giving him some grace. Maybe I am sympathetic or empathetic, whatever you want to call it, but I'm willing to give him some time. All right, he did struggle, and I'll let you touch on some of the things that you saw from Justin Fields on his showing versus the Texans.
So obviously, can't be fumbling the snaps. I mean, that's a given, right?
Yep,
Everybody knows that. Also, got to take away those negative plays where he's taking sacks. Looking down the field too long.
I think America saw that this kid was kind of struggling. You know, so I think everybody has the same kind of feel when it comes to Justin Fields. But
again, like you hit on, there's so much potential there, and it's almost like there's this ongoing experiment of, okay, that light hasn't gone on yet.
Yeah.
But maybe it can.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. I'm a believer that eventually he's going to put 2 and 2 together and play the position at a higher level than he's played it at before.
And I will say this kid needs to gain his confidence. He needs to understand that you are in a new program now. You have one of the best quarterbacks that has played in the league in the past couple of years, either in front of you, right next to you, behind you. We don't know yet. Yep. And we'll get the opportunity to see Russell Wilson play here shortly in a few. But you have to gain your confidence. I understand that last year you probably were thinking you were going to be a lifetime Bear, but that shows you how quick the NFL moves. All right, so like this is a business, and if you are not cutting it, I don't think they gave him a fair chance. I've said that before. People have heard me say that plenty of times, but you have to move on from that. You can't let that dwindle. You can't let that linger on. You have to understand. And like I said before, he needs to be on a revenge tour. He needs to lock in. And if you're locked in, you're not fumbling snaps. If you're locked in, you're not taking sacks. All right. Even if you are taking sacks, you're coming back with positive plays. You take 1 step backwards, 2 steps forward.
Sure.
Understand that. So we're trying to move the ball down the field. And right now, I get it. It's a new field, a new arena that he's playing in, a new coach.
Getting his feet wet.
But what I will say for Mike Tomlin, if Justin Fields is your backup quarterback, you have good problems because he's athletic. All right. Yeah. At the end of the day, we understand what he can do, and he can pop off at any time.
No doubt.
I like it. I just think that I'm gonna give him more time. Now, if this is week 3, week 4, after playing in 3 preseason games, I'm gonna have to be a little bit more critical.
Sure.
All right. Understand that, but I will say he needs to soak up as much as he can coming from Russell Wilson.
By the way, that's a sneaky, intriguing game, week 1, Steelers at Falcons. Mm-hmm. Justin Fields going back to his hometown, playing on turf. That could be fun. If he is the starter, which I think is the more intriguing play. I hope he does end up being the starter, but we'll see what happens.
I don't think he needs to be the starter. I don't think he needs to be a starter, but I do think that they need to have a Justin Fields package. I think it's in their best interest to understand what Justin Fields does best and figure out how to work that into the game plan. Sure. All right, because he is very mobile. He is more mobile than Russell Wilson currently. All right.
More mobile than 95% of the league.
Yes. Yeah. So by all means, like I feel like when it comes to certain situations, if I was to give you a situation, maybe 3rd and short or, second and short, something like that. Where
in the red zone. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about in the red zone, especially after watching those fumbles. We can't be fumbling the snap inside the red zone.
Fair enough.
But I mean, Russell Wilson also doesn't have a top tier view when it comes to being in the red zone either. Mr. Interception. Anyway, that's not his fault. So let's move on. Anyways, but so
speaking of the Falcons, right? That would be the next topic.
Yes. So Micheal Penix.
Yeah.
What about Micheal Penix, Peyton?
Well, I'm gonna let you go first on this one, actually, if you don't mind. Because
I got one word that describes what I saw in Micheal Penix versus my Miami Dolphins, and that
preseason game. Don't worry, you're good.
It is a preseason game, but like you said, there's certain things that you can take away. But my word would be impressive. That kid was very impressive. What I will say, he looks comfortable in the pocket. His patience was unworldly. The ability to deliver the ball, like those guys were moving the ball up and down the field. Yeah. And I saw some of his accuracy. I saw the IQ at the quarterback position on full display. Granted, it was versus my team, but I'm not going to be biased in this situation. I did like what I saw from Micheal Penix. And I think that there's a bigger issue at hand
Wait, before we get to that issue, I want to give my little take on Micheal Penix.
That's what I was going to tell you. I was going to say, but before I go into that.
I was looking at Russ's notes before the show. It is a big issue we're going to get into.
Yeah, go ahead. What did you see from Micheal Penix?
Like you said, the two words for me were decisive and in command. And the other thing about him is I think he's got a style of play that really translates at the next level. I mean, his play within the pocket presence, the pocket movement within the pocket, ultimately, you know, it's all good. And like you said, it's always accurate and on time.
Yeah.
And he plays with a ton of confidence. So I've been a big fan of him. Also, just as a side note, I think more so than Caleb, because of the offense he played in college, he's more pro-ready right now. So we'll see how that plays out. But
to your point, though, I do agree, because if I was to break down their styles of how they played both of their first preseason games, Caleb is out there playing backyard sandlot type football. Micheal Penix is actually playing pro level football.
Yeah.
All right. Like, from off the top of my head, I don't remember if he scrambled as much.
Well, that's the interesting thing. Early in his collegiate career, he did.
Yeah.
But then when he went to Washington, he kind of refined his game, played more from the pocket.
Right.
So he's got some movement ability. He can surprise you. He can move outside the pocket, but he likes to get it done from the pocket.
Yeah. So, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't recall him scrambling that much.
At Washington.
No. In the preseason game.
Or in the preseason.
Yeah, in the preseason game, like, I don't know if that's a take to his pocket presence, or if that just shows us how good Atlanta's offensive line is.
That's another point, man.
You know,
Pro Football Focus has them as a top 5 offensive line.
Wow,
so they're a team to watch out for.
Yeah, I mean, I will
Which
say,
I hate to say, as you know, we have our biases.
Right.
Saints fan.
Yep.
That's a steep rivalry right there.
I mean, the Saints can be good this year too, but we're not talking about them.
Not right now. I had to throw them in there, but we're not talking about them.
Yeah, we're not talking about them today. But what I will say is, I want to take a different angle on this. Right. So. Micheal Penix is getting all the love right now because he was able to put his talents on display in the last preseason game. Kirk Cousins is coming back from Achilles tear. Who's to say that he's 100%? Who's to say that he's confident? And as I'm not a fan of Atlanta, but the money there is already spent. So you have Kirk Cousins locked in for $100 million guaranteed for the next 4 years. He's getting $100 million regardless of if he don't play or regardless if he plays. So my thing is, why not have the most reliable, highest paid backup and go ahead and move towards your future with Micheal Penix? So what I will say, why not give him the keys to the car and give him the opportunity to crash it rather than Kirk Cousins? Now, Atlanta already put themselves in a bad situation by drafting Penix. Maybe he was, or maybe he wasn't the best player on the board when they had their opportunity. But why not give the keys to Micheal Penix? Because Kirk Cousins, we know exactly who he is. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's going to win you 8 games. He can win you 9 games, maybe even 10. But will he get over the hump in the playoffs?
Right.
Like, that is the thing. So I think you have the best car insurance when it comes to Kirk Cousins being that backup plan if you needed him. And you give Penix, like, because he looks damn good. He looks damn good. I mean, we have a very, very small sample size.
Sure.
But taking that sample size and applying it over multiple games, I can see him doing some big things for Atlanta if they gave him a chance.
I think the Falcons are in accordance with you. I just think they're thinking about it in reverse, if you will.
So before you get to your point, they have Kirk Cousins for 4 years.
Right.
Are they going to sit there and let Penix sit for 4 years?
The Green Bay Packers let Jordan Love sit.
But they had Aaron Rodgers. That's a different story. That is a way bigger story than Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins hasn't done anything.
I threw you a curveball there.
Kirk Cousins hasn't done anything in the NFL compared to Aaron Rodgers.
Fair enough.
Multiple MVPs, Super Bowl champion. Kirk Cousins, what? He can't hold Aaron Rodgers' jock.
But what about the value of sitting for a young quarterback and learning behind a veteran and watching him play? I think there's still value in that, even in today's NFL.
Let me ask you.
Yeah.
You told me earlier, where does Micheal Penix rate on your radar? Far as
I thought he was the second most pro-ready quarterback in his draft class
coming
out.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't mean that he can't benefit from sitting.
I'm not saying that he can't benefit from sitting.
Yeah.
But in order to get a 100% Kirk Cousins, why not have Micheal Penix take the first 3 to 4 weeks of the season and see what he does? Maybe he goes 3-1. Maybe he goes 4-0. Maybe he goes 1-3. Who knows?
Sure.
But Kirk Cousins, he has to get over that mental hump of being injured. And you know he's an older quarterback. So by all means, like, everybody has that. Right now, my back is killing me. Right now, my back is killing me. But today, I went and worked out. Yeah. But I had to get over that hurdle of, damn, my back hurts. Mm-hmm. You know, like, so maybe if I start moving a little bit, I'll warm it up. But you don't want Kirk Cousins to go out there with any type of mental incapacities where he's just like, man, I don't know if I can do this. Because if he's thinking about other things, that's gonna mess you up. And now you put Micheal Penix in a bad spot. Mm-hmm. You put him in a bad spot where he's playing catch up rather than trying to correct the mistakes that he's made.
What's funny about this is that we're both super high on Penix.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think ultimately this take could age well because I think he's going to end up being the guy in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. I just don't think it happens yet.
How many years does Kirk Cousins play in Atlanta? If he starts week 1, how many years does he play in Atlanta?
Probably 2 to 3.
So 2 to 3?
Yeah.
So they're sitting Penix, a talent like that?
Yeah.
If that's the case, I feel like they trade Penix. If that's the case, I feel like they trade Penix. Because why make Penix sit behind a quarterback that's gonna win you 8 games every season?
The other thing is, last season in the NFL, there were only 7 or 8 teams that had one starter at the quarterback position throughout the entire season.
Yep.
So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to have that type of quarterback insurance saying, hey, we've got 2 guys that can go. If one of them goes down, plug the other one in, he's ready to play.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, like I said, I think that take could age well because I think Penix is going to hit.
Well, last thing I will say, the Falcons did this to themselves. They did this to themselves.
But is it the worst problem to have?
It's not. It's kind of the same problem that the Steelers have with 2 good quarterbacks.
Yeah.
We don't know what they're going to do yet. We don't know how they're feeling, but it's going to be an interesting thing to watch when it comes to this season.
For sure.
We're going to
find
position.
out real soon.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure. So the AP poll came out.
Oh, now we're in my world.
Yeah.
He knows how much I love college football.
Oh, so. Yeah. Big LSU guy here.
Yeah.
I am a Canes fan. Let me keep that on the low. I'm a Miami Hurricanes fan.
I think some of you guys already know that.
I can't be out here bolstering that I'm a Canes fan because.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You might be surprised later on this segment though, just as a sneak peek.
Oh,
yeah.
Please surprise me. Give me some hope because I don't have. We'll talk about it. But the top 10,
sure.
The top 10. Let me read them off real quick. Yeah. We got coming in at number 1. We got Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, Notre Dame, Penn State, Michigan, and topping off the top 10 is Florida State.
Right.
Any discrepancies you see with that top 10 there?
I don't see many discrepancies. And, I went back and looked at the past couple of years. Mm-hmm. For the most part, the coaches poll and the AP poll, they get it right.
Yeah.
I mean, even last year's playoff teams, the lowest seeded team that made the playoff was either number 10 or number 11 being Washington. So Yes, I think a team can sneak up, especially this year considering the expanded playoff field. I think there's probably 1 or 2 teams that are not even in the top 25 that could potentially make the playoff field. But 100%. For the most part, with that top 10, I think between the coaches poll and the AP poll, they did a pretty good job. I think you can lump the first 2 together for sure. Georgia and Ohio State. I think between star power, top-end talent, and just the fact that they're recruiting power, so they have the requisite depth required to get through a long season, I'm okay with you lumping those 2 together. At the top, I think you can lump the next 3 together between Oregon, Texas, and Alabama. Oregon is an interesting one. They've got a lot of momentum right now, a lot of program momentum. They're recruiting like a power as well. You're not a buyer on Oregon? Not great?
I'm not a buyer on this preseason ranking.
Maybe you have a sleeper, or?
I don't have a sleeper. My question that I was going to ask you, is there anybody outside of the top 10 that you would prefer to see in? And you cannot say LSU unless you give it in an unbiased way. So is there anybody outside of the top 10 that you believe belongs in the top 10?
If I had to pick a team, and I'm not just trying to make you happy, it would be Miami.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Now, we know the kind of juice that Cam Ward provides at the quarterback position, but there's more to offer there.
Hell no.
Oh, you don't want to hype him up like that?
Hell no. I'd rather us not even be ranked. Okay?
But what about the play on the field?
We haven't seen it.
We haven't seen it.
Well,
what I was going to say is, before last season, we felt that way about the Texas Longhorns, perpetually underachieving for the past decade, and then they had their breakthrough moment.
Speaking of Texas, that's the only seeding that I feel like they got correct. Coming in at number 4, that's the only team that I feel like makes sense.
Okay.
All right. So while what I will say is Michigan coming in at number 9, they're the reigning national champions with the asterisk, but they're the reigning national champions. Why are they not number 1? You can't dethrone me if you haven't dethroned me. Like, you can't just say, oh, I finished the season at number 1, but this year if that's the case, and if they're going on, well, they lost their quarterback. They lost their head coach. Like, if you're going off of that, well, we have to take down Alabama as well. We have to take down Alabama. Alabama's ranked number 5. How?
The coach they inherited.
So what? We haven't seen him coach at Alabama. We can't go off of history. We have to see what's in front. And now I understand that it comes down to recruiting.
Sure.
Strength of schedule.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But by all means, like, when it comes to these preseason rankings, like this, it doesn't really make sense. You talked about my Hurricanes. My Hurricanes wasn't even ranked last year at the end of the season.
Fair.
How are they 19? How? Cam Ward?
Yeah.
We haven't seen him play down in Miami.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like,
he's bringing a lot of juice over there.
I cannot stand these polls. And I hope
I'll give you this: the polls, they don't really matter. You know, until we start playing games.
They don't matter. But guess what? On the first game, these rankings are going to be right next to these teams' names. So they do matter. They do matter. Right. Now, I will say, and I'm glad you said that they don't matter. I feel like we need to wait at least 1 or 2 weeks until we start ranking teams. We're just a small time for now. We're just a small time podcast. But by all means, I feel like, why not wait until we rank these teams instead of giving, like, it just gives people something to talk about, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, it gives people something to talk about.
Wait, but I'm guessing you don't want me to go on about Miami because you don't want me to hype them up or anything like that? Or because I got more to say about them now.
I'm listening. Go ahead. Intrigue me. Intrigue me.
I'm looking at a guy like Sam Brown who transfers in from Houston. I think they do need another guy outside of Xavier Restrepo at the receiver position to hit. That's my candidate for a hitting receiver for them. Damn, we know that Mario Cristobal is great at developing and building offensive lines. He's in year 3 now. They've got some studs up there.
No excuses.
No excuses.
No excuses.
Yeah. Comes down to game management at the end of the day.
Yep.
I don't know if they're up there with Florida State, but I think the odds makers have that team pegged correctly. They're right at 9.5 wins. I could see them winning 9 to 10 games. I'm pretty impressed with them at this point.
I'm not intrigued yet, Peyton. That's all you got?
All right.
That's all you got?
And by the way, they might not even win week 1, but it doesn't mean their season's over. That's all I'm saying.
This man said he wanted to hype up the Hurricanes, and he telling me that they're gonna come out and lose to Florida. When I got us beating Florida. I don't care. My score, 21-14, Canes.
Ooh,
Let's go Canes, man.
pretty tough.
Yeah, bro.
Well, I gotta represent the SEC, so I'm gonna argue with you on that.
It might be even closer than that. It might be 21-17, something like that.
I could see it.
I like Miami to come out and score 3 touchdowns. I like Cam Ward to go ahead and rush for 1 touchdown.
Ooh,
I like him to throw a touchdown.
That is the best game of week 1.
And
There's no doubt about it.
Yes.
I mean, Georgia, Clemson's up there. Notre Dame, A&M, that's up there. But intrigue,
Yeah.
Ramifications,
Yeah.
post-game,
Yeah. Now,
exciting.
I do hope that Clemson comes out and stuns Georgia. And
Tall task.
I hope that they stop playing with my boy Dabo Swinney, man. They act like Dabo Swinney ain't that dude.
Fair.
They really be acting like Dabo Swinney ain't been there, done that, walk, talk that talk.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? I get Georgia is the powerhouse, maybe the new Alabama, whatever. I don't care. I need Dabo Swinney to tighten up and come in with that stick out, ready to go to war.
Okay, I hear you.
Ready to go to war, bro. Like,
I don't know
for
if it's
real.
gonna happen in week 1, but
It might
we'll
not.
see.
It might not. I'm just trying. I'm just trying to build some hype to the game, man. Like I don't know.
I get it. That makes sense.
Yeah, I don't
And
know.
we're gonna be watching, so
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
Yeah.
I do think things need to be changed though. When it comes to these AP polls and coaches polls and things of that nature. I will say this: what if we want to do preseason rankings? What if we do spring rankings, right? We do spring and we get like a mini season going or something like that.
Oh,
like,
I don't know.
Maybe
I never thought about that.
Maybe 3 to 5 games, something like that. Where, you know, by the springtime, the transfers are already on campus. And you do it within a month or two. Like, instead of the 21 days to practice, 14, whatever it is.
I like the build up though. It's almost like when we get to spring ball, you just let it happen and then you wait a couple months for the season. And
I'm just saying we need to figure out a new way. Like these preseason rankings, I don't understand. I really don't understand how Michigan is not number 1 when they just won the national championship with an asterisk. But you know, I don't understand. I feel like it's punishment towards them that they're not even the top 5.
They've got an opportunity to go out there and prove it.
You know, that's my thing. Like, I feel like every year we're giving it to Georgia. We're giving it to Alabama. Maybe they do have the
but
number
they
1.
Still got to go out there on the field and prove it.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. If they have to go out there and prove it, why are we giving it to them and not carrying on what happened from the previous season? You know what I mean? Like, why is the previous rankings not the next year's rankings? That's even easier. Why is the previous rankings not the next year rankings? That don't make no sense. Is it because of graduation?
There's a lot of turnover in college football these days.
It is. But I'm just saying, like, it doesn't make sense for us to give it to Georgia, us to give it to Alabama, us to give it to Texas. That doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I feel like certain things need to be changed when it comes to the top 25. So yeah. Either we could take last year's rankings and just carry them over. That way we just already know at the end of the season, oh, Michigan's gonna be number 1 next season. All right, it's up to everybody to dethrone them. Or we have something in the spring where we can actually classify these or you know, solidify the reasons why they're picking these teams to be where they are and where they're ranked. So that's all I'm saying, man. Like,
I hear you.
With that being said, man, Paying anything else before we close out the show, bro? Anything else? Top 25, preseason. Jim Harbaugh. I don't want to hear nothing about Jim Harbaugh in Michigan.
We're done with Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, we're over. If we talking Jim Harbaugh, it's gonna be Chargers based.
Exactly.
It's gonna be Chargers based. I'm telling you right now, because
no, but we hit everything today, man. I'm satisfied.
Yeah. Well, preseason tonight, man. We gonna see
Patriots, Eagles.
Yeah,
a little more Joe Milton. I know that's your guy.
That is my guy. Listen, Joe Milton reminds me of the guy I used to create when I was in middle school, creating that player on Madden with the shield, the dreads hanging out the back of the helmet, the QB the QB wristband.
Yeah,
man, that guy looks good too. We haven't talked about him yet.
No, we haven't.
But maybe we'll talk about him next week. If he gives us a good show this week, then maybe we'll talk about him next week, man.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, Peyton, let everybody know where they can find you. Since you a heavy Twitter user, what's your Twitter handle?
Man, I never tweet. Don't follow me. just follow Thee Sportaholics on Twitter. We'll get that page going soon.
Respect.
Yeah.
Well, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm mostly on Instagram. Not only can you follow me at Thee Sportaholics, that's 2 E's, but you can also follow me on my personal page, which is at Digital Zeus _ Zeus, Zeus. I'll have it on the bottom of the screen for you guys. So, yeah, man, that was a great show this week. Looking forward to it. Like I said before, make sure you remember to like, follow, comment, subscribe. And until next time, guys, we are Thee Sportaholics. Yes, sir. Good show, man. Good show, bro. Yes, sir.